What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the remote front office. Before we get started, we are going to be doing the Brooklyn Nets offseason today. Uh, but before we get into that, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, turn those notification bells on. We are Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I did miss Labor Day. I wasn't feeling well, so we ended up skipping that one. But other than that, we are Monday, Wednesday, Friday around here. 2K24 is around the corner. Can't wait. The gaming channel will be back and revived from the dead for like the third time. Hopefully 2K is good this year, so that channel can actually stay up and running. But today, like I said, we are doing the Brooklyn Nets offseason. This is a team last year who had a roller coaster of a year, right? You started the year off with Kyrie and KD on the roster, and you ended it with neither of them on the roster. So they have some promising players. They have some players that I think need to go, but that's a neither here nor there thing. Let's start with the players that they ended up losing from this roster in the offseason. The first one they lost is going to be Seth Curry. He is now with the Dallas Mavericks. I like it for Dallas. I'm kind of surprised that Brooklyn let him go. I understand it, just because you want more of some ball handlers in there, as well as a little bit more defensive positive players. I mean, Seth is a great shooter, good off the screen, movement, catch and shoot. It's just the defensive part, I think, with this team trying to rebuild, he also doesn't necessarily fit the timeline age wise, so I understand it. Another guy they lost is Joe Harris. They lost him to Detroit. He got traded. That was pretty much just a salary cap dump because this team isn't competing. So dump him, get him off the books with his $18 million a year contract. I understand it, again, because of the fact that you're not competing. You don't want to be in the salary cap, or the tax, I mean, because without Kevin Durant and Kyrie, it makes no sense to be in that because you're not competing. So I understand the salary dump from that end. Another salary dump was Patty Mills. He got traded to Houston. Houston then traded him to OKC, and then OKC traded him to Atlanta. So Patty Mills is now in Atlanta. Same thing. Again, you're not competing. Patty Mills was like $5.5 million a year. Still had a player option. It made sense, right, to not bring him back, just due to the fact that obviously you are not competing, not really making a playoff push. You had the playoffs last year, but that was more so just because of how well Kevin Durant and Kyrie played at the beginning of the year. You had a cushion to where you didn't end up losing your spot in the playoffs, right? Uh, they also lost Edmund Summer. He's still a free agent. Again, not competing. I wouldn't bring him in. I would take a shot on a younger guy personally. And then Yuto Watanabe is now in Phoenix. That one I'm kind of surprised by. I understand it because of the connection with Kevin Durant. But just as far as like a spacer, and it was only a minimum deal, I definitely think you could have brought him back for even maybe a little bit more than the minimum, just to have that shooter, height, spacing all on your court. Guys that were brought in as additions: Darius Baisley. Uh, Kind of surprised he got let go. Understood it a little bit. But I think it's just a young guy with some juice that can play a little bit 4 or 5, and just provide some spacing. He's more of an offensive player than defense, but I think all in all, I think that'll end up being a good addition. They brought in Noah Clowney. I'm curious to see what he ends up being. I feel like his game is more center-ish, but we'll see. It's also curious to have him in a rotation with Nicholas Claxton and Daron Sharp. I just think it's kind of an overkill at that current position. Next guy they brought in Dennis Smith Jr. He had a relatively good season coming back to the league with Charlotte. I'm curious if that momentum continues or if it was a 1 year thing and he's back to what he was beforehand. Another guy they brought in, they're kind of taking shots in the dark with some of these picks. They brought in Lonnie Walker, who I think had a slightly underwhelming season in LA. It was more so a testament to the fact that if San Antonio lets you go, typically it means that there's something just with your game that just doesn't translate well. I mean, it's a good shot in the dark. He's a younger guy, could potentially have some upside. It's worth the shot, personally. Trendon Watford from Portland. Again, younger guy, got cut by a team, kind of just trying to see where he ends up fitting in, right? Dariq Whitehead ended up coming out of Duke, had a little bit of an underwhelming year, so I'm curious to see how his game translates. But we'll see kind of a little bit further on, as it seems like a lot of the younger guys are going to end up getting some sort of extended time, right? And then their re-signees, they brought back Cam Johnson on an okay deal. It was about what I expected him to get, but as far as an overpay, I don't quite know yet. Just 'cause I don't know what Cam Johnson's going to end up being. But I do think it is still a very tradable contract down the line, right? But yeah, that is the Brooklyn Nets offseason as far as next year goes, right? You have Mikal Bridges. I would still like to see Spencer Dinwiddie off the roster. I understand he's expiring, but just I'm not a big Spencer Dinwiddie guy. So for me personally, I think when you're trying to rebuild this team, it's time to go ahead and get him off the roster, right? Um, but I mean, other than that, it's got a lot of younger guys on this roster now. Now that you've gotten rid of Seth, you've gotten rid of Joe Harris, you've gotten rid of Patty Mills. I think there's plenty of playing time for these young guys. I'm curious to see if at some point Mikal starts to get frustrated because he was an older guy coming in. I believe he's already 27. So as far as his championship window, I personally, with especially how good he's been the last year and a half, I definitely think that he's going to want to start competing. So I wouldn't be surprised necessarily, maybe not this year, but maybe next year we start hearing the rumors in the offseason of Mikal wants out and stuff like that. I don't think he would say it publicly, honestly, just because he's a quieter guy. But I think at some point he came from a very winning college program. He went to Phoenix, who was competing, and now I don't think Brooklyn's going to be on that level. If anything, I would assume this team's probably closer to a play-in team. I think they do regress, obviously, from the 16th last year. Again, they had that really big cushion that came from Durant and Kyrie at the beginning of the season, and then after that, they slowed down significantly. So I think without having them to give that initial jump, I think they'll probably be a 7th through 9th seed is kind of my guess right now. We'll have to see how it plays out, and I'll look at it later. But yeah, that is my thoughts on the Brooklyn Nets. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. I will catch you in the next one. Peace.